Great pleasure to welcome you all to the University of Birmingham and to the formal opening of our Digital Humanities Hub. I'm not the main act. Alan Davey is the main act. I'm merely the warm-up. There's always something slightly dangerous about openings. Firstly, as of course you know, the facility has been running before the formal opening. And then there's what might happen afterwards. And I was saying to Michael a moment ago, when I was Vice-Chancellor of East Anglia, there was a new archive centre in Norfolk, and I was asked to do the opening. And I did the opening. And I did the opening really well, cut the ribbon with style. There were photographs of me doing the opening in the local press. There was even a plaque on the wall to say I'd done the opening. But about 9 months later, a distinguished lady who has a residence in Norfolk and elsewhere indicated that she was going to be resident in Norfolk and would like to open some buildings. And so suddenly, my opening was airbrushed out of history. And my plaque gave way to a plaque with Her Majesty's name on, and she did it, of course, with even more aplomb than I did it. Now, what I'd like to do is assure Alan that we're not going to do this again. So you are indeed doing the formal opening, and it will be recorded for posterity. Anyway, it's a great pleasure to see so many people here at this wonderful and exciting facility. And it's a particular pleasure to welcome Michael Chowen and members of his family who are with us this evening. Without Michael's generous support, this unique facility could not have been built. And nor could it have become what it is now, a site where a culture of cross-disciplinarity and cross-sector collaboration is blossoming. Michael, many thanks indeed, because it's your help and your sharing of the vision that's made possible the creation both of a space and, equally importantly, of a team that's put that vision into practice. Such philanthropic giving helped establish this university more than a century ago. And it's this kind of generosity by visionary people which is helping us at the university to meet a range of new challenges and opportunities in the 21st century. And I think it's now fair to say that the University of Birmingham is at the forefront of technological advancement within the humanities. And it's something that we all as a university take great pride in. There are moments where I just allow myself a brief recollection that I once was a historian, and therefore take a particular pleasure, not just in facilities like this, but in the kind of scholarship and outreach and communication which flows from spaces like this. You've all begun to see something of the capacity and capability of the resource that we have here. You'll be able, during the course of the evening, to expand images, for example, from the Staffordshire Hoard, images which are barely 0.2 of a millimetre, and marvel and ask yourself perhaps the question, how did they do it? How did the Anglo-Saxons work with such ingenuity in the age before lenses? Michael's generous gift enabled us to match the funding that we received, the 1.2 million, from the European Regional Development Fund. And it stands alongside other significant and generous support from the Garfield Weston Foundation, from the College of Arts and Law, from the Human-Computer Interaction Centre, from the university, from Carol Kennedy, a great supporter of the university, Mark Glatman, from other cultural partners and many others. So this has been a team effort, not just in terms of shaping and delivering the vision, but a team effort in terms of supporting that vision materially. Together, these individuals and organisations shared the vision, pooled investments, and enabled us to realise what initially had been a glint in our colleagues' eyes. Interest in the work that we're doing here has expanded rapidly, well beyond this region. And this hall has already had numerous visits from international delegations, as well as visits paid by UK organisations that range from the National Archives to the BBC to Rolls-Royce and to Cancer Research UK. The ever-changing groups of visitors to our cultural partners' display spaces can now enjoy the hidden riches of the region's cultural collections, using intuitive software, the development of which has been led by the Hub's ERDF team. Our software can be experienced now also in the wonderful and truly inspiring new Library of Birmingham, the largest civic library in Europe. It can be experienced in the world's largest independent museums trust, Birmingham Museums. It can be experienced in the new multiple award-winning £60 million Worcestershire Hive. And from the early months of next year, it will be able to be experienced at the Iron Bridge Gorge Museums Trust, an exemplar World Heritage Site. And when the Hub team joined a university cultural delegation to our sister city of Chicago last year, we were, I think it's fair to say, somewhat taken aback by the sheer interest in Chicago in the work of the Hub. As a result, it transpired that Chicago aspires to emulate Birmingham's rich culture of collaboration between cultural organisations, academics and businesses. And as a result, we were delighted to be chosen as one of only 2 non-United States university teams who were consulted during the preparation of the first Chicago Cultural Plan for 20 years, which was published last year. Truly, we are taking culture to the United States. Now only 12 months on, the Hub will be submitting a major application to the Arts and Humanities Research Council in partnership with 2 Chicago universities and 5 cultural organisations, along with partners closer to home here in the UK. So the Hub, though in one sense still in its infancy, is already established, not just here in the university, but has established a reputation globally for leadership. So, in concluding my own thanks, I'd like to reiterate my gratitude to everybody who's made it happen, to everybody who sponsored it, and particularly to Michael and those others whose generosity and vision have made the Hub a reality. That's the end of the warm-up, and it's now my great pleasure to welcome our guest speaker and a University of Birmingham alumnus, Alan Davey. Alan, as I'm sure all of you know, was appointed as Chief Executive of the Arts Council for England in November 2007. Previously, he was Director for Culture at the Department of Culture, Media and Sport from 2003 to 2006, and he previously worked as Head of the Arts Division since 2001. Earlier in his career, whilst working for the then Department of National Heritage, he was responsible for designing the National Lottery. Alan's also worked at the Department of Health, where he led the Modernising Division and held the post of Secretary at the Royal Commission on Long-Term Care. He's been a visiting Fulbright Helen Hamlin Scholar at the University of Maryland, and he has degrees from Birmingham and 2 lesser institutions, Oxford and London. Alan is well known for his passionate interest in and advocacy of the arts, as well as his unrivaled knowledge of public policy in this area. We were also delighted when Alan returned to the university in December 2011 to receive an honorary doctorate from our university. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Alan Davey.
Alan, thank you for that lovely introduction, David. I hope I can live up to it. Well, it's truly, truly lovely to be here at the launch of the Michael Chowen Prototyping Hall. It's a unique development, as David was saying, but it's only one part of the pioneering work of the Heritage Learning Hub. And it's work that I first saw, I thought it was about 18 months ago, but you told me it was probably 2 years ago at its early stage, but as work which has come on apace since then. What I saw a couple of years ago had so much possibility, and what's great just about wandering around tonight is seeing so much of that possibility made real. But I want to just briefly dwell on a wider context to what we're celebrating here tonight, because we are celebrating a number of things here tonight. We're celebrating a true marriage of art and science that I think will truly give us a new window through which to understand the world and literally, I hope, grapple with our understanding of it. It's a unique and fruitful collaboration in terms of what's been achieved. It's a unique collaborative funding model, which has at its heart the huge generosity of alumni and supporters, many of whom are here tonight. So we are living in an age of wonder in both arts and sciences, and my capacity to be amazed, I'm pleased to say, is still alive. And it was just the other week when I was walking along the street listening to the radio on my Walkman, a marvellous thing in itself, that something quietly amazing, that I learnt about something quietly amazing happening when NASA announced that they believe that Voyager 1, the exploratory space probe launched back in '77, when I'd just finished my O-levels and was 2 years away from discovering Birmingham, had reached the further extent of our solar system and was beginning to penetrate outer space. 12 billion miles now separate us and Voyager 1, yet it still talks to us. It still gives us sounds of plasma from beyond the universe, albeit taking 17 hours for a transmission to reach Earth. And it's going to carry on talking to us for another 10 years, perhaps, as it travels off the solar map, out into empty, perhaps, or maybe not, spaces of the universe. And in the 36 years of its extraordinary journey, Voyager sent us back thrilling images of our solar system, and indeed of Earth. And of all the pictures that there have been of our planet, there's none for me so awe-inspiring as the pale blue dot, the poignant picture sent back by Voyager in 1990, when it was on a mere 3.7 billion miles away, in which Earth appears as a tiny speck in a band of brown, a glittering pinhead trapped in a vast smoky sunbeam of interstellar light. As with the best art, the greatest art, that picture caused millions of us to pause and to meditate on the nature and destiny of humanity. And it suggested in the way that the beam fell across us that although we inhabit a tiny and dark portion of space, yet our vision and our hopes are great, and that we have some special spark to offer the universe. It was a new view of ourselves. And that's what the marriage of art and science, I think, can offer us. Anyone who reads the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci will be reminded on every page that for this Renaissance man who sketched flying machines and painted the Mona Lisa, and whose methods of study anticipated processes of modern scientific inquiry, for him there was no division between the arts and science. He who despises painting loves neither philosophy nor nature. Truly, painting is a science, he wrote. You can argue that there's been in the modern age perhaps a schism, an unfortunate schism, between the arts and science, and that postmodernism has rendered defunct that classical relationship, and that art is as ironic as science is pragmatic. But I think this, and I hope that this distinction is gradually breaking down as technology gets into the hands of creative people and amazing things are done with it. Because now in the digital age, artists use technology to make extraordinary connections, to come to new insights, to come to new understandings, and create things of wonder. Steve Jobs famously said creativity is just connecting things, and he was arguably a digital alchemist, but his success also highlights the dilemma of the digital age, because there's no questioning the brilliance with which Jobs connected things in ways that made technology accessible to people, and that produced so many sleekly ingenious new products. But if the concentration and is on the sleekness and the ingeniousness of it, and becomes purely mercantile, and consists of repackaging what we already know, then it doesn't in itself push the boundaries of science and of art. It's what we do with the technology, for good or for ill, that counts. And using technology in safe ways doesn't push the bounds of science or of art. And perhaps the market is sometimes content with more money, but humanity needs more ideas. And fundamental problems are often ignored because there's no immediate financial advantage in solving them. So our digital future presents many utopian possibilities in which humanity can be brought together in better understanding, in the noosphere, that quasi-mystical version of the internet envisaged by Desjardins, a scientist, writer, and priest. And on the other hand, without imagination to see how it can be applied in creative ways, perhaps digital technology offers any number of dystopian scenarios in which we endlessly monitor others without ever coming closer to them as fellow human beings. So, as with alchemy, we need the secret fire, that philosopher's stone, which Harry Potter demonstrates, remains a compelling idea, even to the young, to provoke us to be truly original. We need the license that art gives us. An artist will help us explain our ideas, and they'll help us discuss and connect our ideas, and they'll help us articulate what we aspire to. And ministers who are engaged with the higher education sector often talk about the importance of STEM subjects at university: science, technology, engineering, medicine. And yes, they are very, very important. But I say we always need to add arts, which produces steam, a source of energy and an amazing act of alchemy in itself. And that's why what we're celebrating here tonight in Birmingham is so marvellous. So the Heritage Learning Hub, of which the hall is a part, has involved a vast range of individuals and disciplines bringing together minds from a range of humanities and science, from theology, psychology, archaeology, to engineering, to artificial intelligence, etc., 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 and there's a very long list, to produce these multi-touch interactive displays that you see around you. And they've got huge potential for galleries, and already we've seen some of that potential made real. There's already been mentioned the Hive in Worcester, the 65-inch touch table there, which allows visitors to open and explore 6 albums of images which illustrate the history of Worcester. The images are scattered around the table, as you can see, and can be dragged, rotated, zoomed, shrunk by multiple users simultaneously. It's a communal and a tactile experience, as well as being an intellectual one. There's also one at Birmingham Museum and Art Galleries, and I went to the marvellous new Library of Birmingham today and was unable to get my hands on things at the Discovery Centre because it was so popular. So the Michael Chowen Prototyping Hall is the centrepiece of the project. It has around it multi-touch, multi-user 2D, 3D walls, and most interesting of all, a movement tracking system that maps users' behaviour within the hall. Data can then be analysed by a computer, presented in a 3D model, so that interaction with presentations can be gauged. And what this place will offer, and Richard will talk more about this, is for partners for the cultural sector to come and work with the team here to try things, to try ideas, to say, will this work, will that work, well, should we think about this or that? So that we can find new ways of engaging with cultural products and with art, and find new ways for this technology to help us understand, to do new things. And that's what's really rather amazing about this place. When I saw the tables and what they do in prototype stage a while ago, I realized that I had a strong feeling that what I was seeing was, in reality, something like the Memex machine envisaged by Vannevar Bush in his article written in 1945, As We May Think. It was published in the Atlantic magazine, and it was coincidentally at the same time the Arts Council was being set up. And he envisaged machines giving man access to and command of the inherited knowledge of the ages. The way he described it, it was a very physical experience, it was a very tactile experience. So I think some of the Windows-based computing, which was pioneered by Xerox and used by Apple in computer products, is partly the realization of that ideal. But I think the kind of things that we see in this room tonight are even more of a realization of that ideal. It does, as I say, present something connected, human, physical, and it's seeing some of that envisioning made flesh, or made machine, as it were, which I find rather exciting. So linking artists with technology better to realise cultural knowledge and ambition is something we take very seriously at the Arts Council. And we know that there's an awful lot we don't know, and we know there's an awful lot our organisations don't know, and there's an awful lot to discover, which is why we have to have partners. We have 5 goals around better engagement and excellent art and engaging young children and young people. And digital media and technologies run across all those goals. Very, very practically, we know that the sector we work with, the wider cultural sector, possesses great talent and willingness to engage in digital technology. But if we look at some of our organisations corporately, they've lagged behind for a variety of reasons: lack of resources, lack of skills. They might be put off by complex issues of copyright, but also lack of the opportunity to think and realise what might be possible. And that's what's offered here tonight. So I very much believe that in this fast-moving and wonderfully complicated digital world, we require very astute partners. And I think you can safely say that University of Birmingham are very astute partners. We know there's an audience for digital culture, a hunger for it. Our 2010 audiences research noted that 53% of the online population use the internet to engage with arts and culture. A National Theatre Audience survey of their audience recently said that nearly half would have watched the show if they attended online, and 40% said they would have paid for it. We've run a pilot collaboration with the BBC called The Space, which over 6 months registered 1.5 million visitors, 3.5 million pages were viewed, 30,000 unique viewers a week, and many international visits. So it can help put you on the map. So as the work being done in the Heritage Learning Hub and the Prototype Hall shows, digital work is not just about internet access. It is about creating these cross-disciplinary partnerships and connections that really do break down barriers between culture and art, education and science, to bring the experience of culture to many more people, and in this case, literally to their fingertips. These kinds of physical interaction, works of art in themselves, awaken us to the creative possibilities of technology. They have mutual beneficial commercial possibilities. They bring the arts into contact with today's digital craftspeople, the modern equivalent of the craftsmen and women of steel and brick that made cities like Birmingham internationally famous. The arts are major contributors in themselves to the national economy, and by bringing the arts together with digital future, we can help foster a technological revolution that will spread prosperity to our regions. So our arts sector has the material and the creative will. Our academic, technological and business sectors have their own knowledge, ingenuity and skills, and them coming together makes perfect sense. Digital work like this, that allows such a personalised and memorable experience, could and should have an immense significance in local tourism and our national visitor economies. It should open access to a more intimate and detailed kind to many more audiences, and it can be tailored to audiences. And you can look at how audiences respond to certain things and tailor things better. And for young people, perhaps it has a special attraction because of the way they increasingly absorb information these days. But I come again to the physical, the magical way in which technology that you see here tonight enables past lives to be conjured up and formerly anonymous voices to speak. It can have a wonderful effect in reconnecting people to a sense of their locality and a sense of their community. We, the Arts Council, want to do more. In July last year, we published a creative media policy, which is ambitious across all parts of creative media. We recognise that partnerships are essential, so we support a digital R&D fund for the arts, £7 million to fund collaboration between arts, technology and research sectors, in partnership with Nesta and the Arts and Humanities Research Council, and that's a first for us, and it's a real step forward. It was launched in July 2012, it's up until spring 2014. Funds of £2 million have been awarded to 19 projects so far. We've announced some additions to the scheme, a big data call for consortia to explore the application of data to business models, and a research plug-in to support existing projects that require research resources. So there are a number of partnerships across academia, research, business and development that we've yet to explore. But what is encouraging and what's lovely about tonight is that what you're seeing is the fruits of that kind of collaboration, an example of what can be done. So let's return briefly to Voyager and its lonely journey. Pascal articulated our great loneliness when he observed that the infinite silence of eternal space terrifies me. But both in the heavenly vastness of space and the heaven in a wild flower that Blake spoke of, humanity has to make the journey of imagination if we are to change and survive. We have to populate that science. Voyage is making that journey on behalf of us now and showing us, and any sentient creature that may find it, what art and science have done and can do for us, and what a thing of marvel is mankind. And I return to my theme. That's what we're celebrating tonight. New ways of combining knowledge, new ways of collaboration, and the discovery of new connections. We owe a great deal to all of those who've collaborated and those whose generous gifts have made tonight possible. Thanks to you and to all of those who've made this happen. You've truly made something that connects the vision of Vannevar Bush in how knowledge will be gathered and connected in the future, to that of John Maynard Keynes in giving artists a means of finding their way in the post-war world. It's something that combines many things to really allow us to understand what it is to be human. So what you have here is truly unique. It's a great thing for Birmingham. It's a great thing for this country. It's a great thing for technology and science, and a great thing for arts and culture. And we really have something to celebrate here tonight. So congratulations to all of you who've been on this journey. It's a wonderful facility. And now I'd like to ask Dr. Richard Clay to come and tell you all about it properly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Vice-Chancellor Alan, thank you for your speeches. I'm tempted to throw mine away now. Seriously, in fact, I think I'm going to throw it away. So I'm just going to say, firstly, thank you, and then I'm going to try to address some of the ideas Alan's just raised. So firstly, and most importantly from my point of view, is I speak on behalf of the team tonight, which is an incredible team, and it's from all of us that I offer thanks to all of you. You've all supported us in getting as far as we have over 2 years. I'll save special thanks for you at the end, Michael, and maybe even a slightly amusing anecdote. But to all of our cultural partners, the Library of Birmingham, Birmingham Museums Trust, the Worcestershire Hive, Ironbridge Gorge Museum Trust, there is no way we could have done this without you. We couldn't have done it without the match that you've invested and helped us to draw down £1.2 million from the European Union. We couldn't have done it without your expertise, without your knowledge and your understanding, and without your willingness, your desire to collaborate. Alan's right about STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts and maths. We're in Birmingham. We invented the steam engine that drove the Industrial Revolution, remember? And I kind of feel Birmingham is incredibly well situated to embrace this vision of collaboration that Alan's talking about. I owe more thanks to so many more people, to all the SMEs who are here on behalf of my team. Thank you for being as willing and engaged with collaboration. To my academic colleagues who've supported us with investment and have supported us by buying into this vision and investing their intellects in working in collaboration. This is a prototyping hall. In other words, we're not promising you the finished solutions, we're promising you prototypes. As it turns out, they're pretty close to being amazingly finished. But it's that idea of testing and questioning and attempting to be inventive, like Leonardo da Vinci, a great steam thinker who worked in a studio with a bunch of other talented people in a team. Art historians tend to forget about them, but not me. I'm an art historian, you see. Co-director's an archaeologist. Obviously, we want to run a massive digital project. This willingness to collaborate made the ERDF project possible. It built this hall, but it's also, in the last year, led to new projects, like a £250,000 Collaborative Arts Triple Helix project, or CATH for short. Do you like what we did there with the acronym? Next project, Bob. First names, we're trying to make them memorable. The CATH project is extraordinary. We're working in partnership with Museum Studies at the University of Leicester, the highest rated RAE department in any discipline anywhere in the country. And what we're doing is giving out pots of money, small pots of money, £4,000. And we're giving, we thought 16, but it turns out if you do the maths properly, you juggle the accounts slightly, you can give 19 away. 19 projects are being funded. We're funding those projects now. Each of those projects involves an SME, a small cultural organisation, and an academic. And we have academics on both sides of the Midlands who are engaging in this, who come from disciplines like law and theology and history and art history and archaeology and drama and dance. It's an incredibly wide range of academics who are hungry to collaborate, working with SMEs and developing solutions not just for touch tables, but for handheld devices. After all, many of you are carrying around in your pocket the equivalent computational power that NASA had when it sent man to the moon. Pretty much, I guess, what set Voyager off on its voyage. This is extraordinary. These SMEs are incredibly creative. They're looking for challenges. They're also excited by working in cultural space. And this city's cultural riches, this region's cultural riches are extraordinary. Whether we're talking about the hidden collections in archives that we can't access because they're too fragile, they're damaged by light or by touch, or we're talking about incredible cultural riches in small theatre groups, people engaging with the technology to engage audiences in new ways and reach larger audiences. The riches are there, and these cultural partners are hungry for collaboration and to deal with the technology and embrace its potential, just like the SMEs and just like the academics. Now, this kind of collaboration is not straightforward. We've been observing this CAF project, and we have another project in partnership with 13 European countries looking at a kind of policy level at how collaboration works. But observing how the triplets work, it's interesting seeing how they use language. They use the same words in different ways. Trying to get them to even speak the same language is often a first step. To a museum, an object is something you display. To a computer coder, an object is object-orientated coding. It's a particular kind of coding. To academics, object is what we do on principle to whatever anybody else says. So the same word is being used in a different way. They're learning each other's languages. They're learning about each other's strategic and operational parameters. This is not a straightforward journey. But why are they doing it? They're doing it because it's enormously rewarding to each part of a triplet or of a three-sector collaboration on a bigger scale. For the arts organisations, they get access to incredible technology, helps them reach audiences, liberate collections, etc. For the SMEs, this is a massive market. £12.4 billion a year is what Oxford Econometrics thinks heritage is worth to the UK economy. We think it's an underestimate. We think they're not taking account of all of the students who come to the UK, partly because of the breadth and depth of our cultural offer. We also think they're underestimating it because they're not looking at the whole piece of culture, not just at heritage. So for SMEs, they can see there's a market here, and it's a challenging and exciting one, especially in a city like Birmingham, the youngest population in Europe, the most diverse population in Britain, arguably. What better place to test the potential of digital technology? For the academics, these are incredible tools that are suddenly at their disposal. They can be useful research tools. They're certainly useful tools in terms of paving the pathway to impact, in terms of communicating their research to wider audiences. But one of my favourite moments of the last year has been hearing one of the CAF triplet academics say to a room of 80 people, you know, the most useful thing of being involved in this kind of collaboration is talking to SMEs and arts organisations who ask different questions to the ones my colleagues asked back in the academy. These new questions are the greatest gift. I go back to my own research and I approach it differently. Well, that sounds a bit like being in a seminar room to me. It's like working with students. They ask unexpected things. Well, that's what comes of collaboration. Sometimes we have to be willing to take a risk on collaboration and trust in the fact that we are better together than we are apart, that we will approach the same problem different ways, and what will result is incredible creativity and incredible imagination. So I threw my speech out. Now I'm regretting it because I can't remember how I was going to end this. But I do wholeheartedly agree with the spirit and the detail of Alan's speech. And I think it is an evening to celebrate this hall. It's an evening to celebrate the achievements of our team in partnership with so many of you, whether it's multi-user, multi-touch software, or the incredible stuff our PhD students are doing at the moment. If you get a moment, please have a look at that screen over there, in the middle, on the left, as you walk in, and talk to Guido. He will take his phone, touch an object, have it on his phone, put it on the screen, rotate it, bring it over to the table, put it onto a map and explain it to you. He's breaking down all the barriers between different devices, or Hafiz, who's put sensors around a table so it can see you coming and move material. He wants to create intelligent space. Or Andrew Lewis, who can't be here tonight, sadly, who's scanning objects in 3D using a PowerPoint projector, cost £200, that is dismantled and turned into a structured light scanner. I'm an 18th century art historian. I don't know how that works. I think it involves fairies. And then he prints it on a desktop printer that's at the end of the room. Oh, and next to it's another printer that one of the postdocs has printed using the printer he bought. It's a crazy and creative group of people. But all of this creativity is born out of collaborating across these three sectors. So, if it's a celebration, it is a celebration of collaboration. Now, I definitely have remembered where I want to end. I want to end at the beginning. So this is the Michael Chowen Prototyping Hall. We can track 30 visitors in here, where they're moving, where they're looking, what they're touching. We can bring up film and sound of their experience. There's a bit of a projection about this up here. This is a prototyping hall. It's incredible. How on earth did an archaeologist and an art historian with a PowerPoint and a vision go from there to here? Well, Michael, your donation is enormously valued by us, but it's nothing like as valuable to us as your critical friendship. My colleague and friend, Ian Grosvenor, Professor Ian Grosvenor, once said to me that the only kind of friend worth having in the academy is a critical friend. And that's what I value most about you, that you were inspired when you first met us. The first PowerPoint slide Henry Chapman showed you was the cover of C.P. Snow's classic Two Cultures. And he said, we want to break down the barriers between the arts and the sciences. At this point, and you were the first potential donor I'd ever met in my life, you had your head on the desk. And I didn't really know what to do at that point. So I was very well briefed by Darrow, by the way, now Dave, but there was nothing in the instruction booklet about what you do in those circumstances. So I said, Mr. Chowen, are you okay? And you sat bolt upright and said, I'm absolutely fine, but if I need to leave the room because I'm so excited, please don't be alarmed. And I do hope you won't be embarrassed by this, but at the end of the meeting, you did literally kowtow to us. It was an amazing moment. And the fact that you saw what we were trying to achieve, and I know it mutates and it changes, but you've kept faith in it. That vision has given not just us, but everybody we work with within our team the courage to continue doing what we're doing. So it seems entirely fitting to me to say thank you here in the Michael Chowen Prototyping Hall. So to all of you, but especially to Michael, thank you.